of the vote. The PQ is closing the gap with 32%. That's up 5 points for the PQ, and all since June. Joining us now for more on politics from Victoria, BC, is political consultant Michael Geoghegan. Michael, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, a lot to discuss. We'll start off with that poll in Quebec. What do you make of this bump up in the polls for the PQ government?
Well, you know, the Québécois, I mean, it's always been reasonably popular to do stuff which disses les autres, whether it be, you know, the English or minorities or what have you, while promoting, I guess, what's seen as, you know, the true Québécois. You know, anywhere else that would be seen as blatantly racist, a little bit xenophobic, but in Quebec it gets you votes. And we also have to look at the example of France, where you know, they have moved very strongly against displaying of religious symbols. They've made it illegal for women to wear the hijab and the burqas and other things that cover their face. And you know, when it comes to that, in terms of face coverings, I mean, a lot of Canadians have concerns about that, not because of the culture it displays, but because, you know, are these women doing it of their own free will or because they're basically being forced to?
Michael, let's turn to Syria now. Also looking for votes is Barack Obama, looking to Congress, which in 10 days is going to talk about its possible role in Syria. What do you make of this action today, this delay, it seems?
Well, I tend to agree with the previous commentator you have on board. You had interviewed. I think Barack Obama has made a smart decision because by throwing it over to the Congress, he's buying more time. He's in a situation where if Congress votes for it, they get to share the glory, of which there is likely to be none, and the blame, of which there is likely to be plenty, in terms of what sort of ensuing debacle happens in Syria. So it's a smart move from that standpoint in terms of getting the approval of Congress. It also, on the other hand, if we end up like Britain, where Congress doesn't back him, he can shrug his shoulders and say, hey, I took it to Congress, they didn't back me, oh well.
And the Canadian government's reaction to what's been going on in Syria, supporting, in principle, the United States and its goals, but no military involvement. What do you think of that?
Well, again, I think it's a classic reasoned and Canadian position where we're supporting our American friends. We have very limited assets in the region anyway. We've spent a lot of money on Afghanistan already, so it's a thing where, hey, if you guys decide to go, you've got our moral support, and if you don't, oh well.
On the domestic political front, so much going on with discussion of marijuana, but I want to turn to the Senate. It's been in the news almost every week this summer. Is the Senate going to be different in a few years?
Well, I guess it depends whether or not they legalize marijuana. But we might have some more interesting statements come out from the Senate. But in all seriousness, I think it's reached a point. The impasse we're at is, and the Harper government is seeking clarification from the Supreme Court on this, is can the federal government unilaterally change the structure of the Senate? The problem with an elected Senate is it grossly underrepresents the West. I mean, you have, you know, British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan with only as many seats, Senate seats as Quebec. So an equal elected and effective Senate would actually be disastrous for the West. Quebec's never going to agree to having its share of Senate seats diluted, and so we're at an impasse. If we can't reform the Senate, then we might as well get rid of it, because all it is right now is a holding body for, you know, patronage appointments or other people you wish to bestow honors on.
Michael Geoghegan, it's great to have the view from Victoria. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Still to come.